Hello, folks, and welcome to today's live stream. I apologize for being late. And let's see here. It was a very interesting evening last night with 15 hours of lost power, about 12 to 15 hours of lost power, and so I've been really hustling today to make everything work. So thank you for being patient, and welcome to today's Cichlids and Coffee. So right off the bat, let's get an AV check. Let me know if I've got good sound quality and good picture, and hopefully we will not have any loss of either one during today's live stream. We had 60-mile-per-hour winds last night, and because it had rained, the ground was very soggy, and so it was a perfect situation for large trees to get toppled, and they did. Large trees were knocked over, and of course power lines were knocked over, and we lost power, and it got very interesting very fast. And I'll be covering in a video that I've made for you what exactly occurred. I made a short little video for you this morning. So let's see here. How's the audio visual? Is it okay? Are we looking okay? The AV is good. Okay, good. Excellent. Thank you so much for that. You know, you're always wondering from from this end. All right. So we have a lot to get into today, and I have a short video, like I mentioned, that I made for you. That will be the lap of the fish room, and it'll include information on what happened during the power outage. And also, so watch for that, a little short video that'll be coming up. And a quick shout out to those of you who support the channel on a monthly basis as Garage Gang members, as Patreon members. Thank you for your support, and it is very appreciated. It really helps projects that I do. It really helps those projects to get pulled off, and I'm very grateful to all of you for that. So a big shout out. You can see some of the names there of the Garage Gang Patreon supporters. Information on how to become a Patreon backer of the channel is in the description under most of my videos from about a year and a half ago forward. So big shout out to them. Also a big shout out to my wonderful moderators who keep the stream rolling and keep the comments family friendly. And also a shout out to you, those of you who spend an hour with me on Saturdays and make it worthwhile. Thank you, my friends. So let's go ahead and do the official start. What do you say? All right. Now we're rolling. Hey, thank you for being patient. I know some of you are like, hey, there you are. Okay, yeah. Yep. I wasn't sleeping in, I promise. There was just a lot going on. I have no Shack's Choice fish for you, and it kind of worked out okay because I was down anyway, and I really didn't have the time this morning to put that segment together. But I do want to give a big shout out to the Cichlid Shack for their sponsorship of the channel. And I want to go ahead and share with you just this quick little plug and little Cichlid Shack video that James worked on here. And don't forget that you can get 15% off on your Shack orders. Any order over $100, you get 15% off. Doesn't apply to shipping. Shipping is what it is. And it's on orders over $100. 10% off on dry goods like extreme food, things like that. And that's with the Shack Attack 15 and Shack Attack 10 codes. Or you can opt for a flat rate on shipping of $50. And, you know, if you're going to place an order like that, I would get several fish because the box is going to cost you the same anyway. But there you go. And maybe James will jump on to the chat as we go along here. So let's see who we have here today. Who is spending some of their Saturday with me? Angelo is here. Hey, Angelo. Tony Punch is here. And hey, Tony. Hey, Angelo. Jay's Aquatic Fun. Love the name of that. Jay's Aquatic Fun. Reginald Woods. Great name. Tony Pond. Hey, Michael. Michael's here. Lodenero. Salient Aquatics. Keeping it family friendly. Dan Coate is here. And Z-Zip. Hey, Z-Zip. Howdy to you as well. Davey Larson. Jeff Hester in the house. Fish Ranch. Fish Ranch. I kind of get the idea of somebody wrangling fish. And Raul Sanchez in the house. Cichlid Kings. Hey, Cichlid Kings. Good to see you, buddy. R. Baglio in the house. And let's see here. I'm just scrolling the chat. Finsanity Aquatics. Finsanity Aquatics. What a cool name. I'd be curious how you came, or why you came up with that. Finsanity. Finsanity. Vibes Aquatics in the house. Hey, buddy. One of my wonderful moderators, along with Salient and King. Finsanity Aquatics, a.k.a. Hey, Joe. That was sneaky. A little sneaky of you. Thank you for that super chat, my friend. I appreciate that. Joe Provenzano. Hey, Carrie. Nice to see you, Carrie. Haven't seen you. I think you were here last week, weren't you? I think you were. And who else? Let's see. James Wheatley in the house. All right. Eric in the house. All right. More and more. I'll pick up some of your comments as we go along. Fishy Dior. Now there I imagine a fish carrying a very fashionable bag with a little dog inside of it. Fishy Dior. All righty. Great names, guys. Hey, Mike. Mike in the house. And Joe Adder. Hey, Joe. Ozzy the Oscar. Hey, Ozzy. Ronald Ciortino? Ciortino? I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Are you kidding me? You're Snorkel King? Why is everybody changing their names on me? I'm just starting to get a knack for who's who, and all of a sudden you're all somebody different. Next week I'll have a different name. LKB Pythons. All right. Stepping into the area of a different kind of scale from pythons to fish. Very, very cool. So let's see here. So today's topic, keeping fish healthy. I mean, I got into that. I started thinking about that because I put out this video. Maybe one of the moderators can share the video on coloring up fish, on getting the best color out of the fish that was released recently. And as I went through the points on how to get the best color, I realized, what I'm really talking about here? I'm just talking about fish health. That's all I'm talking about. I'm talking about how to keep our fish healthy, because a healthy fish will tell you they're healthy with their color, and they'll also tell you they're not healthy if they're colored down, if their fins are clamped, if they're not active, if they're not eating. I mean, there's a lot of. I released a video a while back where I had a fish kind of sticking into my ear, and it said the fish are talking to us. The fish are talking to us if we listen. And it was all about the little signs that fish give you that tell you that they need something or don't need something. So when it comes to keeping the best fish health, I mean, you folks have your ideas about that, right? I mean, and we've learned this. A lot of us have learned this the hard way. We've learned as much what to do as we've learned what not to do, right? Just by the mistakes that we've made over time. I certainly have. And I tell you, some of the best ways to keep fish healthy and this is not in any particular order, but I think one of the most important things is to keep their stress level down. And I think you can apply this to humans too, right? keep the stress level down. And how do you do that? You do that with the right tank mates. You don't have fish that are going to be relentlessly going after, trying to kill other fish. You also keep their stress level down by having the right kind of tank. Like if a fish needs, like an Oscar in a 40-gallon breeder, right? After they've put on size. I mean, that's a stressful situation, and when they get shocked or startled, they're going to bang into the glass and possibly hurt themselves. I mean, that's a bad scene, right? So having the right kind of aquarium, having the right kind of water parameters, feeding them the right kind of food. Do they need vegetables? Do they need high protein, lower protein? I mean, these are all things that relate to keeping that fish healthy, and reducing the stress. Another way you can reduce stress is, and I mentioned this in the color video, is to not mess so much. I've been guilty of this just like anybody else. I mean, sticking my hand in that tank and, tweaking where that rock is, or moving that decor, or and just messing too much, and it sends the fish scurrying off and banging into things, and sends them into complete startle reflex, right? And so, yeah, we've got to get into the aquarium. We've got to vacuum. We've got to clean. We've got to clean the glass panels. All that makes sense. But some folks are just, they're just in it all the time. And as I've moved along over the years, I've started to move more in the direction of simplicity, set things up in a way so that they're maximum simple, and also less is better, less is more. And so I do it in my filtration. I do it by keeping deep substrates and sponges in my filters. I do it with maintenance schedules that are, maybe every 2 weeks, 1 week if test results indicate. But trying not to always be meddling with the aquarium. And I think that's going to result in healthy fish. And so understanding, and I kind of touched on this lightly a second ago, but understanding the diet requirements and then filling those requirements with good quality, with really good quality. There are some companies that I believe in. I think Sarah is producing a good product with a low amount of fillers. They have a very low test result on phosphate in their food. Some of you out there that are fighting algae, you might be feeding it with your food and not even know it. You might be putting in phosphates in your aquarium with your feeding. So good quality food, Sarah, Extreme, these are good quality. I think Northfin is really brought their game back again. Northfin's good food. I just got sent some samples of Denachi, I think it's pronounced. Looks like a good clean food. Some of you out there have your favorites, but that's going to be really important too. High quality, providing them with the best quality food. Do they need vegetables? I mean, if they need real vegetables, you want to give them real vegetables. Try and get vegetables that were grown without pesticides. Don't add pesticides to your aquarium. And unfortunately, unless it's marked 100% organic certified and isn't from China, you're going to have pesticides in there. So at any rate, just some of the points that I've been thinking about on how to get on how to get healthy fish, how to keep them healthy. Certainly, we all know the not to do too much, right? And I've been guilty of that as well. Deep substrate cleaning, all the filters get cleaned, pull out the decor, clean it, put it back, and all of a sudden you have a spike in ammonia, and you've got fish that are gasping and struggling, and their gills are on fire, and you know, again, take it slow, be a little patient. Don't try and have everything right now. Just kind of take your time, and your aquarium will start to become a more and more stable and healthier environment for the fish. Another thing that I have found that works for me, and along the line of food, is variety. And you'll see this in an upcoming video. I have an upcoming video on a full fish room feeding. I actually feed every fish on camera, and you'll see that the common denominator of all of it is variety. Every tank is getting a little bit of different types of things, and I think my philosophy, my idea, and you may or may not agree with this. You tell me what you think, but my idea is that no one company really has it all nailed down 100%. I think they all have good ideas. They all have they're all onto something, and they all have their slant, their philosophy. So to cover any gaps that one particular food might have, I introduce other types of food. So when I feed my cichlids, they'll get extreme, they'll get piscine energetics, right? And they'll get other foods, Sarah mixed in there, green, so they're getting a little bit of green in there, even though they're pescador, they're predators, right? So a lot of variety in there. So at any rate, Angelo says, I never touch the substrate. Yeah. Some people avoid that. Ronald, you want to contact me by email? You can reach me at ben.o.cichlid@gmail.com. ben.o.cichlid@gmail.com. Appalachian Aquatics, the trout in the background isn't having it. What? He's been a little feisty. The last few weeks, I've noticed. And he is getting pretty big, and I don't think the other fish are messing with him. Even the Nimbochromis, the Venusis, the Fusco, the Livingstoni, they don't mess with that trout. And that trout is not full size. He's got maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 more inches that he's going to put on, and with that length, he's going to get a lot heavier, a lot fatter, All right, so let's see here. Cameron, hey Cameron, how are you? Do you ever feed your cichlids guppies or feeder fish? No, I don't. Now, that being said, my when I add the guppies to the live bear tank, which is right over my right shoulder here, when I add the guppies to it, I have 3 males and like 5 females, and I add that fry to the constant flow of fry that the platies and mollies are creating right now. I'm going to have an abundance of fry. So because they're homegrown, and I know for a fact that they're free of disease, maybe I will throw a few in there and let the fish go to town. There are some fish in here which are, well, they're probably all of them are predators to some degree, right? But some of them are really in the wild. That's what they do. Like the gar with its crazy lips. That gar is actually built to get on its. I've seen them do this, by the way, trying to get a piece of food. They're built to get on their side and slip in between rocks, and then with that big mouth, just sort of suck fry out from between rocks. So there's a possibility. Maybe if I get too many, I'm definitely not going to put 100 tanks in here to grow out several generations of fry. I'm not going to do that. So maybe that there's some of that in my future. We'll see. So let's see here. Let's do this. I have a short video for you, and it is the walkthrough of the fish room. Did I miss any other super chats? Any of you who wants to support the channel, you can by throwing a little money at it with a super chat. That's at the bottom. You see a little money symbol by where you can comment on the chat. You can also support the channel by using my Amazon link to get to Amazon. And that's just amazon.com/shop/Ben Ochart. If you use that link to access Amazon, even though you don't get anything from my Amazon store, you move on and buy other things from Amazon, that actually gives a small percentage to the channel. You also support the channel if you use my aquarium co-op links that I supply under some of my videos, because I've become what is called a aquarium co-op affiliate. And so they give me a little help, a little bump when I send business their way. So just ways to support the channel. Thank you for sharing that link there, Cichlid Kings. So let's play this short video I have for you. Let me pull this up. I hope you like it. And certainly feel free to comment while the video is playing. All right, here you go. Uninterrupted power supply, UPS, right? Not to be confused with United Parcel Service. But that UPS was a lifesaver. Uninterrupted power supply, UPS, right? Not to be confused with United Parcel Service. But that UPS was a lifesaver, and I didn't lose any fish, even though it ran out of juice around 11. Actually, I take that back. It ran out of juice around 9 p.m., 8 p.m., and I had to come into the fish room and just sort of stir up the top of the aquariums just to make sure that there was some oxygen exchange in the bigger tanks. But everybody is fine. Didn't lose any fish. Didn't seem like any fish got into any real distress. Looking good there, Mr. Terror. So by mid-March, these two big silver dollars are going to be, boy, look at that. Wow. Those silver dollars are going to be joined by these over here. They're going to be coming out of quarantine. They're looking really good. Very active, good color, eating like crazy. So they're going to be coming out of quarantine fairly quickly. All the plecos are doing well. My big South and Central Americans are all doing great. These tanks would have gotten some water changes and some maintenance yesterday, but I had no power, so I didn't do it. This tank's going to get a water change today, and it's going to get a vacuuming with a unit that was sent to me to test out. So I've got a vacuuming testing unit that I'm going to be using. There's Salvini going into his cave. It's funny the way he dug out the bottom right in front of it. He goes in, turns around, then sticks his head out. Very cute. The chocolates, I think, are a little bit too docile for this tank. Not really holding their own. Nobody messes with the big vieja. But the chocolates might be a little bit too docile. They might be going back to the 90. Here they go. Nicaragua and the firemouth. Jack Dempsey just doesn't care. Salvini came out again. Salvini thinks it's safe. So at any rate, I feel very, very fortunate that I didn't lose anybody, and watch for the review that I'm going to be doing on that backup unit. The ACs are looking good. I did notice there's a little bit of tatter at the back of the eye biter. It's funny because usually the eye biters are the aggressive ones in the aquarium. This one seems to be getting harassed by somebody. I haven't quite figured out who. Somebody's harassing him, but overall he's eating well and active and doesn't really have crazy damage on the body. And I don't see, it's not like a relentless chase because I haven't even seen it yet, but somebody's picking on him, keeping him in his place. The dominant fish in this tank, of course, are the Malawi trout. He's pretty dominant. Nobody messes with him. And one of the Nimbochromis, the living stone eye, is also pretty dominant. Nobody really messes with him either. You can see he's a big tough guy. My miracle fish. This tank is a little underlit right now. I have to reprogram the light. It's a programmed light. This one here on top, RGB, all best fish. So I'll get this one reprogrammed before the live stream today, and it'll be on for the live stream. Hey, the loach is out. Tank made of the betta. I'm putting a few more of them in there so the loaches have friends. I didn't worry at all about the betta because, of course, they just go up and gulp air like the way Cory cats do. So I wasn't worried about them that much. It's really the big fish, and they're high demand for oxygen, but the lights were out, so they're all kind of calm and sleeping, and so their metabolism was pretty low during the blackout. Unfortunately, it wasn't really cold outside, so I didn't have to worry about the aquariums cooling down too much. With a lyre tail. All right. For some reason, the video actually started from about a few seconds in, so I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get it to restart. But that's gives you a little bit of an idea of what went on. You know, I feel very lucky, and I'm going to tell you why. I was right in the middle of doing the review of that large, it's called a Neo 2000, and it's a 2000 watt uninterrupted power supply, right? UPS. And I was right in the middle of testing it, and I started to get these texts, these warnings that there was like a possible tornado coming, 60-mile-per-hour winds, blah blah blah. So I went ahead and rounded up all the extension cords and things that I needed. I plugged everything in, and as part of the video, and then I just let it run. And so when the lights did go out, the unit was operating because it was in the middle of its test run anyway, and so I think that kind of saved my bacon on it, and then it eventually ran out of power. So, but instead of spending 12 to 15 hours, I mean, I'm not sure exactly when it came back on. I think around 4 in the morning the power came back on. But instead of spending 12 to 15 hours without power, they spent maybe 5 or 6 hours, which I know fish can tolerate 5 or 6 hours. I mean, come on, they ship them from the Far East, right? They ship them in containers to vendors here in the U.S., and that can take a day or two, right? And so we know they can be okay for a short while. My biggest concern are large active fish with high oxygen needs, and those fish, those tanks. Before I went to bed, I kind of stirred up the top, really agitated the top so I could let some of the bad gas escape, let some oxygen get in, and they were all fine by the morning. So we can put them in bags, and we can ship them. You can ship them over 2-day air, and they're okay. So I figured by morning I'd be okay. Now, if we were still in a blackout situation, I'd have a bad scene going on probably. So for a variety of reasons, I mean, beneficial bacteria, probably not getting enough oxygen, could start to maybe suffer. It's really a case for having, if you have a large fish room, it's definitely a case for having a real backup generator, because even the large battery packs like the one I have, they only go so long. They only can go so long, and unless you have it plugged into maybe solar panels or something like that. But of course, that wouldn't have worked either. If I'd had solar panels outside, those solar panels would be in Memphis right now, the way those winds were blowing. So let's see here. Angelo is saying, just added a Linkbird, I think you probably mean Inkbird heater controller with Wi-Fi. It's great. I can watch my tank with the camera and heat while at work all day. Huh. Very cool. Very, very cool. Yeah, Inkbird has really increased their technology. I mean, they were a very, very basic controller at a very fair price, and now I think they've really upped their game. Kind of reminds me of like the aqua heaters. The upgrade of Higer is aqua. And so the aqua heaters with their automatic shut off, if your water level goes too low, they issue a warning and they shut off automatically so that you don't burn your heaters out. And so you got good technology, better technology built into it, and the price point is still really, really good. Sean says, yes, Ben, I'd take those chocolates out. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them in the 90. I think they'll be okay there, and I don't think they'll harass the other fish, especially with those dither fish, the silver dollars. I think they'll be okay in there. And I am noticing some fin damage on the chocolates. I'm definitely not looking forward to catching them with that giant piece of driftwood right across the middle of the tank. It's going to make, between that and the separate openings on the top, I'm probably going to have to use like a fishing net. Drop a fishing net in there and a purse net or something. So it'll be very interesting having to catch them. So let's see here. So thank you for that super chat. I appreciate it, Angelo. And yeah, I'm a big believer in controllers. They can really save you a lot of headache. So let me look at your question. Lisa Kruger, first timer here. Snowed in New York. No Saturday morning plans moved. Thank you for what you do. Don't lose power, but you made me think for future. Yeah, yeah. I'll tell you, it's having backup. It's. I mean, you can do it on a smaller level. You can have lithium power air pumps. If you have lithium power like air pumps, and I know that Aquarium Co-op sells them, but I've used Cobalt and I've used Higer, and they've been good. And they were running in my smaller tanks. I had filtration and oxygen, right, and bubbles going almost all day yesterday, even with the blackout, because I had the lithium power pumps on there. There's even a lithium power pump on the 90 gallon as well, and so that had some surface agitation going on. But so you can safeguard that way, because I think oxygen depletion is the biggest problem. But I think that if you start to get into a lot of, certainly if you have corals, salt water, things like that, I mean, you really need a higher level of backup, because if you have a power outage and no water movement, let's say, a drop in water movement or and circulation, a drop in temp, your corals are gone. Your corals are dead, and so that can be very expensive real fast. So yeah, definitely consider having something there. Thank goodness it wasn't a cold yesterday. If it had been really cold, I might have had other problems. But it was the fish room stayed pretty comfortable. All right. Anyfin goes. What a great name. Anyfin goes. We lost power for a couple of days. Wow. Aquarium co-op air pumps helped a bit, but our generator only runs the sump pump and furnace. At least the room temp was okay, and they had air. Freshwater nano. So you didn't lose any fin goes? You didn't lose any fish? Everybody came through okay? I hope so. DSGF. Hi, Ben. I have a 125 assorted African cichlids. For months, the biggest one is pale and has tattered fins that often lay flat. She hides a lot. Don't see it. Gets picked on. I think you need to pull that fish out for a while. That's what I would do. First of all, observe the tank. Observe the tank for a while. Even with the lights out, just kind of sit there quietly and see if you can see who's going after that fish. But it definitely sounds like it's subdominant. When they're subdominant, they lose their color. They try and look like a female. They try and look like, hey, ignore me. I'm no threat to anybody. Not to say that they're not aggressive female cichlids, because I've had aggressive female cichlids, but they color down. They don't want to be a competitive male, and they'll be very slow to get food because they're subdominant. So they're not really in the pecking order. Be sure you have sinking food and are feeding at different sides of the aquarium so that fish can get some food, because it's a dwindling spiral. They stay away from the feeding frenzy because they're subdominant, so they get weaker. Because they're weaker, other fish see them as weak and start hitting them, and it's just a dwindling spiral and usually ends in the death of that fish. So what I would suggest is pull the fish out, put them in another tank. You have a little 20-gallon sitting around, a 10-gallon, and just let him get his strength. Let him get his strength. Pull some filter media out of the established tank. Use it. Drop it into the new tank. Use about half water from your existing tank just for pH purposes, and then the rest of it can be tap water. Just be sure you condition it before you add it. And then you can bring the fish over once making sure the temperature is matched. Bring the fish over right away, drop them in. You'll be good to go. You'll have an instantly cycled tank with the media from the established tank, and let that fish heal up, get some swagger, attack its food, get some color, and then try putting it back in. And I've had that be successful in the past, and otherwise, it'll get slowly killed. It'll get killed off, unfortunately. And once the cichlids identify a subdominant or weak fish, and it's one of those cycles of life kind of things, they'll go to take it out. They'll go to take him out. They don't eat him. They don't predate. It's not a predator thing. It's just sort of removing the weak from the herd, culling the herd, right? All right, let's see here. I am looking at your questions now. Now, you asked about feeding them live food, Cameron. I do. The only thing I come close to that is I do give the African cichlids frozen krill, and I give the South Americans and the community fish and even the betta, I give them bloodworms, just a little bit of bloodworms, and they love it. All the fish love bloodworms. The African cichlids go crazy over over krill. I don't give bloodworms to the African cichlids. I heard that it can be a little bit hard to digest, and African cichlids are prone to bloat. I've never had one get bloat or die from bloat, knock on wood, but I don't feed them bloodworms. Now let me add something to that. When I go to the Aquatic Critter, my local fish store, they have a big tank of live brine shrimp, and I'll buy 2 small containers of live brine shrimp, and I'll spread that around to all the tanks, and so that is live food. So there is some live food that goes into the tanks, and again, that's all part of my philosophy of providing the fish a variety of nutrition sources. It's funny because as I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the planted tank, and I'm noticing that some of the tetras, the Serpa, red Serpas, the lemons, and I think also the Buenos Aires, they're nipping on sword plants that are sword-like plants. Apparently, those taste good to them. So that's what's happening to some of my swords. They're leaving the crypts alone. They're leaving the Anubias alone. But it looks like they like the jungle val, that type of plant. It looks like they like nipping on that, and so that's good to know. I'm not gonna waste money on jungle val if it's just gonna get torn apart by the tetras. So anyway, I tell you, this plant thing has been quite an adventure, quite a learning process, and I've been happy with it, really happy with it. All right, let's take a look at some more of your comments. If you have a question for me, go ahead and hit me with your questions. Hey, GP, did I say hello to you, GP? I do notice that you're here, and I am glad you're here. GP concurs. Bloodworms are not good for African cichlids. High protein. Yeah, and they need protein. They just don't need that much protein, right? And last power outage, dipped water. Yeah. Anything you can do to break surface tension during a power outage. Some people will siphon water into buckets and pour it back in. Agitate the surface, right, with your fingers. Do whatever you can to break up and let the bad gas out and the good oxygen in. Andy, any plans to try a father fish tank? Now, if you mean it's okay to lurk, GP. That's okay. Andy, if you mean a deep substrate tank, that's pretty much what my tanks, for the most part, have a lot of substrate in them, and I rely on the substrate, which I leave undisturbed for the most part. I do have to dig in a little bit on the South Americans because of that river rock, but for the most part, I leave the substrate alone, and I rely on that as a home for bacteria. So the substrate operates as a type of media. With the surface getting a lot of oxygen, and then as you go down further, you get less and less oxygen. Theory being that maybe near the bottom levels of that substrate, you'll get a little bit of anaerobic bacteria, which is the kind of bacteria that can convert nitrates into a form where it can gas off. So you get a full cycle. So if that's what you mean by a father fish tank, yes, I am kind of following that. I picked up, there was a very old write-up I found in a blog on the internet a long time ago, and it was from a fish group up in Northern California, and it talked about using substrate, like thinking of your substrate as media, and because you leave it undisturbed, it becomes a very stable media. And that to some degree has been my philosophy. But is that what you mean, Andy, by a father fish tank? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. K-Stew, it really depends on the type of fish. The type of fish I'm going to be keeping. In this tank here, I have it is 3 feet. It is about, is it? It's really far from front to back. This tank behind me. It's 7 feet across, and I know it's over 2 feet, maybe 3 feet from front to back, and that gives fish a lot of turnaround room. So if you're getting a 15-inch Malawi trout, the fish has got a lot of turnaround room. But it depends on the fish I'm going to have. If I was going to have maybe medium size, more medium sized cichlids or medium sized fish, I'd probably, you know, the 8x2. I mean, boy, 8 feet. That's quite a panoramic tank, and I think a tank like that would be really nice for, let's say you had a planted discus tank. So you have this massive panorama, like this jungle. You have like a jungle going on, and a lot of wood, and maybe a little open space, and then more jungle and wood, and have some, have a dozen discus floating around in there, 8 feet across, and then maybe have 25, 30 cardinal tetras in there. I mean, that would be absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So depends on the application. But if you've got the footprint for an 8-foot tank, if you've got the space, and you've got a floor that can support that much weight, do it. Do it. Hey, Edgar. Father Fish Tan is an OG fish keeper with a YouTube. I know Father Fish. I met Father Fish at Aquashella. And I'm just not really sure what they mean by a specific Father Fish tank. So I'm assuming it. I've seen some of his deep substrate tanks. And so I'm thinking that might be what you're meaning. MB Reef in the house. Let's see, Ed Liberatore. Am I pronouncing that right? Liberatore. Ed Liberatore. Being in a garage, how much temperature difference are you fighting with your heaters from the ambient temp? Well, keep in mind the garage is under a bedroom, so that the ceiling is insulated. I don't think these outside walls, I don't think they're well insulated. The garage door, I added insulation. The Home Depot styrofoam insulation rectangles you can buy. So I put those into the garage door. And then I have the door open between the garage and the house, and a fan that blows air from the house into the garage. So it stays pretty comfortable here. If it gets real cold, I've got this heater, Dr. Heater. It's a floor unit, and it's a 1,000-watt floor unit, and it can really make it comfortable here in this middle section. Up against the garage door and the door to the outside, it can get chilly. You put your hand against there, and you can feel a lot of cold. We had days where it got to 0. But make no mistake about it, my heaters are working. Those heaters they're earning their keep. They're working hard, and I got to keep an eye on them, make sure they keep working. Michael Lorenero, he means a biotope. Is that what you're thinking, biotope? You know, I've always been impressed. I've always been impressed by these tanks. Like I've seen the is it MD, the fish keeper from the UK? These folks that can create these setups that are just they're just self-sustaining. They have a cleanup crew, right? They have maybe a couple cories, maybe a small pleco, some shrimp. So they have a cleanup crew, a lot of plants, and no water movement, no fish, or a few very small nanofish, and a lot of plants. So the plants and the cleanup crew are doing all the heavy lifting, and there's no filtration except for what's being done naturally. Always been impressed by that kind of a setup, and maybe someday. David Glass, what type of African cichlid should I put in 150? Well, David, you can put pretty much just about any kind of cichlid, any kind of African cichlid. There are certain, I don't know, you folks want to chime in? What kind of fish would you put in a 150? I mean, I'd put these fish in. I would put trout for sure. I would put strigatus. I would put several types of buccochromis, like a spectabilis for sure, a rhodesii yellow, and a notatania. Put one of each in there, and maybe some protomelis, your Taiwan reef, your tangerine tiger, maybe some VC10s. I mean, yeah, 150 is a nice sized tank. You really could get 30, 40 cichlids in there with enough filtration. Put a sump on it. If it's not drilled, put an overflow box on a sump, or throw 2 FX6s on there. And you can load that thing up. Load it up and put a couple bushy nose plecos. You can throw some Synodontis catfish in there. Yeah, go to town. You've got a nice big canvas to paint on. That tank I had in California in the bedroom, that large acrylic was 150 acrylic, 150 gallon acrylic, and the buyer, an older gentleman like myself, the buyer and I picked up that 150 and just carried it out like nothing. And I'll tell you, that made a big case for having an acrylic tank. It would take probably 4 to 6 people to move a 150 gallon tank from glass cages, because they use like 3/4 inch glass and reinforced corners and braced bottoms with cross panels and of glass. Forget about it. You need about 6 people to. Mike, I've kept African dwarf frogs back in California. Very cute, and just a fun thing to keep. And I had success with them. I forget. I think I ended up when I changed up tanks to cichlids, I had to get rid of them. But very cool. If I put one in the tank behind me, it would probably last about 10 minutes, maybe less, maybe 2 minutes. It would be a big snack. Leptorus green, Thomas Medina, is one of my favorite African cichlids. Now, one of the things about the Leptorus greens is I've heard they can be very aggressive. So look into that. Find out from the buyer if that particular fish you're buying is showing lots of signs of aggression, because the Leptorus green can be very, very aggressive. Keep America 2A strong in the house. In the South Carolina coast. Oh, nice. South Carolina has beautiful coastline. Let's see here. I am looking at the chat. We have a lot of sub conversations going on. Let's see here. I am cruising the chat. Uh-oh, looks like someone hit me with a super chat when I wasn't looking. Daniel Lopez, how's it going? It's going better, my friend. I dodged a bullet with a 12 to 15 hour blackout here at the house, but hey, thank you. All right, so we're a little bit past the hour, but I feel like I owe you a few minutes because I started late. So go ahead and hit me with any other questions that you might have. And by the way, if you've ever won something like fish food or a sticker or something and you didn't get it, please let me know. Let me know, but don't let me know through Facebook Messenger or Instagram, or I might not get the message. Only let me know at ben.o.cichlid@gmail. That's the only way we can be sure that I'll get your message, okay? Because I have had some folks that fell through cracks, and it's upsetting. Also, if some of you send out friend requests and you have a fish related channel on Instagram, I instantly follow you. If it's not fish related, I usually don't follow because otherwise I'll get bombarded with so much stuff. But on Facebook, come over to ben.o.cichlid on Facebook, and we can catch up there. Otherwise, as a straight friend request, I usually keep that to family for a variety of reasons. And but if you've sent me a friend request on Facebook and I haven't responded, it doesn't mean I don't like you. It just means that let's get together at the Ben.O''Cichlid. Let's get together there. And otherwise, the other one I kind of keep with family, and it's a little bit of a different scene on Facebook. It can get a little bit too wild. And at any rate, any more questions, folks? Any questions? Keep America 2A strong. What you doing in South Carolina there, my friend? And I hope you have good weather there. One of my sons sent me a picture of golfing. He was golfing at Pebble Beach. Beautiful blue skies and ocean in the background. And here I am waiting for the tornado to hit. And it just pissed me off. And of course, I'm kidding. All right. So I'll tell you what, folks, thank you so much to all of you. Thank you for being patient and showing up today. You are the best. And you're the reason I get up on Saturday morning. So thank you for showing up. Thank you to my wonderful moderators. Shout out to the Cichlid Shack for their sponsorship. Thank you to the Aquarium Co-op for all their help. And thank you to my Patreon monthly supporters. You folks rock. And my super chatters today. Thank you, super chatters, for all the help and assistance. And with that being said, I think we will go ahead and wrap things up. What do you think? I'll see you this coming Saturday. Watch for the video on a feeding of the entire fish room. I feed every tank. Watch for the review of the uninterrupted, the UPS power supply, the Neo 2000. And watch for the review coming up of this aquarium cleaning product from a company called BD, Electric Aquarium Gravel Cleaner. They sent me a couple of these. I'll be doing a review, and it's just in time because I want to do a cleaning of the 210. So watch for those upcoming reviews. And thank you so much, everybody. You're the best. And thank you for that last-minute super chat, Daniel Lopez. Thank you, my friend. That's appreciated. All right. Goodbye, folks. I'll see you next week.